Alrighty guys, welcome back to another beta Minecraft tutorial. Today we're going to be looking at how to build an arrow detector in Minecraft beta 1.7.3. Okay, so building this contraption is pretty simple. We're going to start with our activation block, which I'm going to denote with a gold block here, but these blocks can be whatever you like them to be. We're going to put a pressure plate on top like that, and have a block coming out like this with another block one up like that, and we're going to have a repeater running into this block here. Then we're going to right click on our pressure plate to get two blocks above like that, and we're going to cover that in redstone just like that. Then we're going to come around the back here and we're going to place a block here like this and put a slab on top, and then we're going to remove this block and we will put a boat just like that. Now I'll explain why we want the boat there later, but for now we'll finish off the contraption. Then we're going to put a sticky piston on the front of the contraption just like that, and then another block there like that. And that is the entire contraption done. Now if you shoot an arrow into the block, you'll see that everything activates, and you can actually take, a redstone signal out of this if you wanted to. Now before I show you guys some practical uses for this contraption, I want to explain kind of how it works and also show you guys some different ways you can activate this contraption. So basically the way this works is when an entity or some particles are above a pressure plate, when an arrow is inside the hitbox of the pressure plate, it will cause the pressure plate to activate. Now, in beta, shooting an arrow into a pressure plate on its own won't cause it to activate. Neither will projectiles like eggs or snowballs. Fishing rods will. But yeah, this is kind of like a bypass way to get these things to actually activate a pressure plate. Now boats and minecarts are probably the best thing to use in single player, as they kind of just sit here in a static kind of objects, and yeah, they won't really go anywhere hopefully. But as I mentioned, there are other ways to kind of activate this system. Now the setup is always the same. If you shoot an arrow into the block like this, and then for example I break this block, because that block had particles, it activated the pressure plate. Other things like snowballs, they have particles that are able to activate. It can be a little inconsistent. Same with eggs. Oh, we got a chicken. And because the fishing rod is classed as an entity, it will also work. And if we also shoot this and we go weather, rain, not sun, you'll find that rain particles also make this activate. Now the one last way to activate this is with fire, which I think is actually the best way to do this in multiplayer, definitely, because boats and minecarts can often be a bit glitchy. So if we place an arrow in the wall there and then we have fire, you'll see that the fire emits particles, and as they spew out, they go above the pressure plate and cause it to activate. So if we do that again, yeah, basically it can be basically instantaneous. And if we go over to this one, the cool thing about fire is we can also have it underneath the block here, like this. So this way you can actually shoot the top of the block, just like that, and it will activate because of the particles underneath. Now it might take some time for the particles to actually travel through the block, so there was a bit of delay on that one. But yeah, I think this is probably one of the best ways to activate this if you're in multiplayer for sure. Now the cool thing about using fire is that because particles only render in for the player at closer distances, you can have it in a state where it won't activate until you get close. So as you can see, I've got an arrow in the right spot there and then the fire there, but nothing's happened just yet. But as I move closer and the fire particles start to come back, there we go. Now we have the activation happening there. Now, unfortunately, arrows have a despawn timer of basically like a minute, I think. where after a minute this arrow will disappear, which is not ideal for our system if we want it to activate, when we get close to it, rather than never if the arrow despawns. So basically, I have a system over here. If we zoom in and have a look, you'll see that the pressure plate isn't getting activated when the arrow lands back down on the sticky piston, and the piston is moving up and down because of a redstone clock that we have going on out of repeaters right there. So this movement will keep the arrow sort of alive. It'll reset the timer every time it moves, but it's not activating the pressure plate because the particles don't exist because I'm too far away. Now if any player moves in, you'll see that the pressure plate will start to activate as well. You'll see there, it will start to activate because the particles are back. Now this timer becomes redundant because the arrow is hitting the pressure plate and causing the piston to move. So yeah, that's only because we're close by. And this could be used basically to, trigger an action when a player is nearby, but it'll still keep the arrow active if we walk away. So yeah, basically it's in some ways you could also, you could call it a player detector if you want to. So maybe to show what I mean when I say player detector, as you can see, the pressure plate isn't activating the note block, but as I come close, it activates. So now we can actually hear the note block going. So that's how you can kind of take an output from this system. And then when I walk away, the note block stops activating. Alright, now I think it's time for some creative applications for this bug. Now I'm just going to go off the dome and come up with some things on the fly. Haven't really thought them through, but yeah, we'll see how we go. I'm sure you guys can come up with a lot more creative things to do with this bug. And if you do, let me know in the comments. Now the first idea I've come up with is basically just to turn on and off the lights in a flower farm. Now that just turns off the lights, as you can see, and then as we come over, all the lights come back on and the door opens. So that's one idea I had. Now it might be a little redundant in this little flower farm, but if you're in a room that's like really big, maybe it could be used for something like that. Okay, so the next idea I have is like a secret base. So if you look at this wall, you wouldn't maybe notice anything strange about it at a glance, at least. Maybe this hole is a little suspicious. I'm sure there's a better way to hide this, but yeah, when you shoot there, then you've got this secret door opening that you could come into, like a little secret base here, and then when you're leaving, you just grab the arrow, it's all closed up, and then you walk away. Alright, maybe as well as like a secret base, you could also just have a secret chest in your storage system. So if you shoot here and you look down here, now we've got a whole bunch of valuable stuff hidden away in there, and you can just grab the arrow. And no one should really know about that. No one should think to do that in a storage system like this. Maybe you could make some kind of archery minigame where you have to hit the bullseye. I think that would be pretty cool. Maybe you could use it to dispense minecarts to yourself, or even use it to change the direction of the minecart on a track. Like if you had one going left, one going right, sort of thing, you could choose. And you could definitely use it for some pranks. That's for sure. If we have that there, maybe under a friend's house, and some TNT or something like that. I don't know. Or even better, maybe one of these sand traps. Point is, there's quite a lot of fun to be had with this contraption. Now I also want to quickly just shout out SixMix for making me aware of this bug with their skeleton boss fight video, which I highly recommend you check out. Also, while I was making this video, they posted their own tutorial of arrow detectors, and both videos will be linked below. Alright, but with that, I hope you guys enjoyed today's tutorial, and I hope you guys find some use out of this. If you do, let me know down in the comments. And yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Laters.